empty nesters or move-up buyers, before you buy your next house thinking you can transfer your 3% mortgage rate, you need to hear this. I'm going to be blunt. This is the Real Deal channel. 90% of what you're seeing on social media about the portable mortgages is just misleading, and it could cost you thousands. I've been really diving deep into these new Fannie Mae changes and the portable mortgage buzz and what's actually available versus what's being hyped online. It will affect you in selling your house. And if you make decisions based on what you're seeing on TikTok and other social media platforms without understanding the real details, you could end up locked into a bad deal, lose your negotiating power, or just miss out on programs that you actually would help you. Okay? So stay with me, because I'm going to break down everything, including the one build-to incentive that could save you thousands of dollars that most buyers don't even ask for. Plus, stick around to the end. I'm going to tell you how to download my free 2026 Mortgage Changes Survival Guide. Yes, it's got the 12 exact questions you need to ask your lender about these new programs and a credit score improvement checklist that can help you save thousands of dollars. Now, some of you know I am a realtor. I'm not a mortgage broker, but I work with lenders every single day, and I talk with my clients about this stuff all the time. And I've done my homework on these changes because you deserve to understand what's really going on. Social media and the fake news says things that just aren't true and misleading the public. I don't like it. So I'm going to break down what's real, what's hype, and what you actually need to know if you're thinking about buying a home right now. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the portable mortgage thing, because I keep seeing it everywhere online. And here's what people are asking me. They're saying, Diane, I saw on TikTok or on YouTube, I can take my 3% mortgage rate from my current house and just move it to my new house. Is that real? And look, when I first heard about this, I got excited too, because I have a 3% mortgage. Because think about it, if you could, bought your home back or refinance back in 2020 or 2021 when rates were at 2.5%, 3%, maybe 3.5%, and now rates are sitting, 6.5%, 6, 7, depending on your credit score and things like that. The idea of keeping that low rate sounds amazing, right? But here's what I've learned after talking to several lenders and doing my homework. It's not quite as simple as what you're seeing on social media. So let me share what I found from the lenders I work with. So what they're calling portable mortgages isn't really new. And it's definitely not what most people think. There are some programs where you might be able to do something with your existing rate, but it's not like unplugging your mortgage from one house and plugging it into another. Some Fannie Mae programs apparently have provisions where, under very specific circumstances, you might be able to blend your old rate with your new rate. So it's not keeping your full 3% rate. It's more like mixing it with today's rates to get something in between. One lender gave me an example that kind of made it click. Say you owe $200,000 on a current home at 3%, and you want to buy a new house for $400,000. And if you put down $50,000, then you'll need to borrow $350,000 total, right? So what they might do is take your existing $200,000 at 3%, add the $150,000 at today's rate, like say 6.5, 7, whatever it is, and somehow blend them together. So you might end up with something like 4.5 or 5 or something like that. It's better than 7%, yes, but not the magical 3% everyone's dreaming about. But here's what I've learned where it gets a little tricky, and honestly, this is the stuff that concerns me for my clients. First, what I'm hearing is you usually have to stay with the same lender, which means you lose your ability to shop around for the best deal. And we all know what happens when you can't shop around. You just lose negotiating power. Second, the property has to meet specific requirements. The lenders I've talked to have mentioned something about income, qualified areas, or certain types of buyers, so that dream house in the neighborhood you love, it might not even qualify. And then next, there are apparently income limits on this. I've heard numbers thrown around like $80,000 to $100,000 tops, depending on your area. But it seems to vary a lot, so you have to find out from your lender. And lastly, the fees might be higher. One lender mentioned to me that because they're giving you a break on the rate, they might make it up with higher fees. But I definitely want you to ask your lender about this specifically, all right? I'm not saying these programs can't work for the right person, but what I'm saying is the way that it's being hyped up on social media doesn't match what the actual lenders are telling me. And that gap between hype and reality, that just worries me for my clients or just for the consumer. So my real deal advice is that if you're interested in this, talk to a reputable lender. Ask them specifically about assumable loans and rate blending programs. Get your real deal numbers for your situation. Don't make decisions based on a TikTok or YouTube or one of those social media videos. Okay, let's talk about what Fannie Mae apparently just did. Because from what I'm hearing, this might actually be the bigger deal. Starting November 16th, I believe, I've seen this from multiple sources, so I think this is legitimate. Fannie Mae is changing how they evaluate credit scores. Or more accurately, they're moving away from requiring traditional credit scores in some cases. And when I first heard about this, I was like, wait, what does that even mean? So I did some more digging and I talked to some lenders that I trust. And what I've learned is for decades, the way mortgages have worked is pretty robotic. You fill out an application, it goes into a computer system, they call it desktop underwriting, and that computer looks at your credit score and basically says yes or no, or maybe. And that credit score was basically the golden ticket. You needed at least a 620 for conventional loans, 580 for FHA in most cases, but apparently now they're bringing more human review back into the process. So instead of just letting a computer algorithm make all the decisions, actual human underwriters are going to look at your complete financial picture. And from what I'm hearing from lenders, this could be huge for certain types of buyers. Are you one of those type of buyer? Might it help, right? So let's talk one, self-employed, right? If you're a self-employed buyer, I've worked with so many self-employed clients over the years who make great money, but have a harder time getting approved because their income looks different on paper. Maybe they own a business and you write off expenses, so your taxable income looks lower than what you actually bring home. One lender told me that with more human underwriting, these situations get reviewed more fairly because an actual person can look at the whole picture. Your bank statements, your business stability, your actual cash flow, instead of just what a computer spits out. What about people who had a rough patch, but they're back on track now? Like, for example, you lost your job during the pandemic or sometime and fell behind on some bills, but have been back at work for 2 years. You've been paying everything on time and you're financially stable now. From what I understand, a human underwriter might look at that context and say, okay, this person had a temporary setback during a global pandemic, but look at their track record since then. Whereas the computer just sees late payments and just dings you. How about younger buyers without much credit history? If you're 24, maybe you don't have any credit cards. You've been paying cash or using your debit card. You've been responsible. But traditional underwriting penalized you for not having any debt. I'm hearing this new approach might help people in this situation because an underwriter can look at your rent payment history, your savings account, your job stability, real indicators that you're financially responsible. That's great. How about people with medical debt? And this ties into something else I'm going to talk about in a minute, but medical bills have been a huge reason why people's credit scores get destroyed. And that never seemed fair to me because medical emergencies aren't something you plan for, right? With human underwriting, there's more opportunity to explain these situations, okay? And here's what's important, and this is where I want to be really clear. This doesn't mean anyone can get a mortgage now. You still need to prove income. You still need to show you can afford the payment. You still need a down payment in most cases. You still need to meet debt to income ratios. All that stuff still matters. This isn't a free-for-all where suddenly everyone qualifies, like back in the 2008. What it sounds like is just a more common sense human approach instead of relying totally on computer algorithms that can't see context or understand nuance. Now, I'm not the expert on ins and outs of underwriting, but that's what your lender's for. But as someone who works with buyers every day, but as a real estate consultant, this sounds like it could help people who were being unfairly left out before. My lender of choice is Crista Lowrie from FCCB Mortgage. She's the real deal mortgage professional, and her info is below. Give her a call, and she'll tell you exactly what you need to do. I think the key is that if you've been turned down for a mortgage in the past, or if you had a non-traditional situation, it might be worth trying again. Talk to a lender about these new guidelines. See if your situation might be viewed differently now, okay? Now that we're talking about credit, I want to mention something because I don't think enough people know about it yet. Apparently, medical bills are no longer supposed to show up on your credit report, which is great. I learned about this earlier this year. It changed in the first quarter of 2025. When I mentioned it to clients, most of them have no idea. Think about how huge this is. Medical bills have destroyed so many people's credit scores over the years. You go to the emergency room, you have an unexpected surgery, your insurance doesn't cover everything, and boom, you've got a $5,000 or $10,000 bill. And you're trying to pay it off, but it goes to collections, and suddenly your credit score drops 80 points. It's been such a common story. Here's what we're telling our clients, that if you ever had medical bills go to collections, you should pull your credit report from all three bureaus, okay? And check for any medical debt. And if it's still there, you should dispute it and get it removed. Now, again, I'm not a credit expert, so you might want to talk to a credit counselor or your lender, but the best way to do this, from what I understand, is removing those old collections can actually boost your credit score significantly. Some people have asked me, Diane, if I dispute it, won't that hurt my score? No, that's a myth. That's actually a myth. When you dispute something that shouldn't be on your report according to the new rules, and it gets removed, your score goes up because that negative mark was dragging you down. To be clear, though, you still owe the money. I'm not suggesting anyone skip out on their medical bills. That's not what this is about. You're still responsible for paying what you owe to the hospital or the doctor. That's just being a decent human being. But apparently that debt doesn't need to tank your credit score anymore, which seems fair to me. You can pay your bills without it destroying your ability to buy a house. I've had lenders tell me they've seen people's credit scores jump 40, 50, 80 points after getting medical collections removed. And on a mortgage, that score difference could mean the difference between getting approved or not, or it could mean the difference between getting a 6.5% rate or a 7.5% rate, whatever it is, which on a $300,000 house could be the difference between $200 and $300 a month. And over 30 years, you can do the math. It's like $70,000 to $100,000. So, recommendation here: talk to your lender about this. Ask them to walk you through your credit report, help you understand if there's something that shouldn't be there. This is the low-hanging fruit that could literally change your entire financial situation. Well, the big question is, I get asked a lot, Diane, with everything going on, these rates, the prices, all these changes, what's going to happen in 2026, is now a good time to buy? And look, I'm going to be completely honest. Anyone who gives you a simple yes or no answer to this question is either trying to sell you something or doesn't fully understand how complex the market is. Here's what I tell every single client. The right time to buy is when it's right for you. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but hear me out. I've been in this business long enough to see people wait for the perfect time, and you know what happens? They wait and they wait and they wait, and meanwhile they're paying rent every month, money that builds someone else's wealth instead of your own. Yes, rates are higher than they were a few years ago. Will they ever go down again like that? I don't know. I don't think so. No one's denying that the rates are higher. But on the other hand, there are people who have bought houses decades ago. When I first got in real estate, rates were 8, 9, 10%, even higher. They don't regret it right now if you talk to them one bit, because their homes appreciated in value over time. Their mortgage payments stayed the same. That's the beauty of a fixed rate mortgage. And their home values went up. Their neighborhoods got better, and they built massive amounts of equity. Meanwhile, the people who wait for rates to come down, they just miss out on years of appreciation. They spend time paying rent that they'll never get back. Here's what's actually happening in the market right now. What I'm seeing with my own eyes is that days on the market are going up. Houses are sitting longer before they sell. And you know what that means? More choices for buyers, right? Sellers are getting nervous. And when houses sit, prices start to drop. And when sellers get desperate, buyers get negotiating power, right? Inventory is higher than it's been in years. It's still not at the buyer's market high, but it's getting closer to normal. And for the longest time, we had no inventory. People were fighting over the few houses that were available. It was crazy. Now there's actual choices, especially in some areas, more than they should be. So you can take your time. You can be picky. You can compare options. And builders are offering crazy incentives. I'm going to talk more about builders in a minute, but they're motivated right now. And when builders are worried about moving inventory, that's when you get the best deals. There's less competition. Like in 2021, if you wanted to buy a house, you were competing against 20, 30, sometimes 50 other buyers. You had to waive inspections. You had to offer way over asking price. You had to write love letters to the sellers and hope they picked you. It was insane. Now you might be one of those 3 buyers looking at a house. You can actually negotiate. You can get inspections. You can take your time making decisions. So yes, rates are higher than they were in 2021, 21, 22, 20. But literally everything else about the market is better for buyers right now. How I think about it, if you're ready to buy, meaning you have stable income, down payment saved, and you're planning to stay in that area for at least 5 years, then I say start looking. See what's out there. Talk to a lender and get pre-approved, because here's what people forget. You can always refinance later. If rates drop to 5% or 4% in 2 or 3 years, you can refinance and lower your payment. But you can't go back in time and buy at today's prices if home values jump up another 10 or 20%. Don't have a crystal ball, but it could happen. And as you know, your mortgage payment builds equity. Every single payment you make, even at the higher interest rate, is building your wealth and your net worth. Compare that to rent, where every payment builds your landlord's wealth and you get absolutely nothing back. I'd rather see you buy now at 6.5% rate and build equity than wait 2 years hoping for a 5% rate while home prices go up another 45 to 50,000. I don't know. Because you can refinance the rate, but you can't refinance the purchase price. And a quick reminder, if you find this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and like for more breakdowns just like this. I post updates on market changes, lending shifts, and everything you need to stay ahead when buying or selling a home. Now, if you're ready to start looking, let me share with you a strategy that might help you find better deals. I think it's with new construction. Now, if you're in an area that has a lot of new construction, for I'm seeing and hearing from other agents across the country, builders are getting aggressive with incentives. New construction numbers are up something like 15% from last year, which means builders have inventory they need to move. And when builders are sitting on inventory, they get creative with incentives. So when you go into a model home, now remember, my family are custom home builders. We had model homes, and that's when I started when I was 5 years old in a model home. You don't want to be shy about asking. First question you can ask is, will you pay my closing costs? That's huge, because closing costs typically run 3% to 3.5% of your loan amount. That's $9,000 on a $300,000 loan, or up to $10,500. That's money that can stay in your pocket and go towards your down payment if your builder covers it. Some builders are just automatically offering this. Others will negotiate, but you have to ask. You gotta ask. Another question is, what incentives are you offering right now? Sometimes it's appliances, free refrigerator, washer and dryer. Sometimes it's upgrades like free granite countertops or upgraded flooring or better fixtures. And sometimes it's straight cash back that you can use towards your down payment or closing costs. The incentives do vary by builder, by community, even by which lots you're buying. They're trying to move, right? But they won't tell you about all of them unless you ask. You have to ask. A big one is asking them if they are buying down the interest rate. It's big because it's an incentive that could save you, say, $50,000 or more over the life of the loan. How it works is that many large builders have their own mortgage companies, and they're using these mortgage companies to offer rate buy downs that are honestly kind of insane right now. Over the first 4 years, it could save you $20,000, $30,000, even more depending upon your loan amount. Money you can use to furnish your house or build an emergency fund, pay down other debt, or invest. But here's my advice, and this is really important. Don't just take the builder's word that their deal is amazing. Get the numbers, compare them with what you could get from an outside lender. Sometimes the incentives really are incredible. Sometimes they're less incredible than they sound. Sometimes they're built into the price of the home. So ask the builder, if I use my own lender, would you reduce the price of the house? Sometimes the answer is yes. And when you do the math, using your own lender might actually be better. Just got to do the homework. Run the numbers. Compare apples to apples. That's why working with a great real deal agent and a great lender who can help you break down these comparisons is so important. Now, I have thrown a lot of information at you today. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, that's totally normal. There are a million moving pieces and it changes over time. That's exactly why working with a good real estate, a real deal realtor matters so much. I'm not just saying that because I'm an agent. I'm saying it's because I genuinely believe it makes a huge difference in the outcome you get. A good agent can help you navigate all these changes and connect you with trustworthy lenders who actually know what they're talking about. And they can explain what's happening in your specific market. Because real estate is super local. What's happening in my market might be totally different from what's happening in yours. You want someone who's going to fight for your best interest in negotiating. Okay. Good realtors know what builders are great to work with, which one cut corners. They know which lenders are responsive, which ones drop the ball, that kind of thing. If you're in my area, my team and I would love to help you, and that's what I do. I generally love doing it, but if you're somewhere else in the country, I still want to make sure you're really taken care of. That's why I built my realdealagent.com. Just tell me what, if you're looking to buy or sell, and I'll connect you with an agent who actually knows what they're doing, not random agents, someone in my network. Because when buying or selling, you don't want to choose an agent that are on a billboard or because they're your cousin's friend. You want to choose based on experience, knowledge, and a proven track record. Oh, before I forget, I've been hearing whispers about these 50-year mortgages potentially becoming a thing. I want to address this quickly because I think it's important and it ties into everything we've been talking about. The idea behind a 50-year mortgage is to lower your monthly payment by stretching out the loan over a longer period instead of the traditional 30 years. Now, on the surface, that sounds great. Sounds so appealing, right? A lower monthly payment means more affordable, means more people can buy houses. But here's what really concerns me, guys, and this is based on conversations I've had with lenders. First, you're going to pay so much more in interest over the life of the loan, like a crazy, almost unbelievable amount more. And when you stretch a loan out that long, the total interest paid is astronomical. Secondly, from what I'm hearing, these longer term mortgages will most likely come with higher interest rates because they're riskier to the lender. So not only are you paying interest for 20 more years, but you might be paying a higher rate to begin with. And next, you're going to build equity much more slowly. In the early years of any mortgage, most of your payment goes towards interest anyway, right? That's just how mortgage amortization works. But with a 50-year mortgage, there's even more extreme in this. You could be 15 years into your mortgage and still owe almost as much as you borrowed. Now, I'm not a mortgage expert, so I can't tell you definitely whether these even become widely available or if they ever make sense for anyone. Maybe there's a scenario where it works. But my gut reaction, as someone who wants the best for my clients, I'd be really, really careful about this. The math might look appealing when you're just looking at the monthly budget. Oh, I can afford this payment. But the long-term cost can be absolutely brutal. You could end up paying twice of what the house is worth or more. So if the lender offers you a 50-year mortgage, please, please, please get them to show you the full picture. Ask them what's the total interest I'll pay over the life of this loan compared to a 30-year. Also ask them how much equity will I have after 10 years. That's when most people move after 10 years or after, say, 20 years. Ask them what's the actual interest rate. Get all the numbers and compare it side to side with a traditional 30-year. Just make an informed decision, guys, based on real math, not just on what your monthly payment looks like. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Now, I promised you my free 2026 Mortgage Changes Survival Guide, and I want to make sure you get it. Because honestly, I put a lot of work into this thing. This guide is completely free. I'm not going to spam you with emails. I'm not going to sell you anything. I just genuinely want to help people navigate this confusing market with actual useful information that can save you money and help you make better decisions. And if you found this video helpful and valuable, please give it a thumbs up and share this with anyone you know who might be thinking about buying or selling. The more people who understand what's really going on, the better decisions we can all make. And before you go, make sure you watch the next video I've linked right here. The property tax system is rigged. And here's how to protect yourself. It pairs perfectly with what we talked about today because understanding the mortgage changes is only half the battle. Property taxes are the other major cost homeowners are getting blindsided by. In this video, I'm going to break down how inflated assessments, hidden school debt, and rising insurance costs are squeezing homeowners nationwide. And more importantly, what you can actually do about it.